Like I said, I'm the eternal optimist, and we've gotten past things in the past, and we'll get past this. Let's just keep moving forward.
Or we won't. Anyway,
The optimist in Mr. Betamax 84. The pessimist, I should say, not optimist.
hey, it's another Sunday. Thank you for taking the time to spend it with us. For all of the 31 people who've downloaded the show. I think we have 30 to 40 listeners right now on a weekly basis, which I think is fantastic. So I appreciate you being here. Welcome to the Beat the Best podcast. It's here. Me and my ace, Sean Fitzgerald Muhammad Watkins. That's not his real middle name, but he knows I like to joke with him about ridiculous middle names. How you doing, Sean?
Right. Man, I am fantastic, and I've adopted Fitzgerald. It's quite all right, sir. Thank you.
It gives visions of you being an Irishman.
Yes. Well, my name is, side note, my name is spelled the Irish way, Sean. So that's Irish for John. I learned that little known, useless fact years ago.
Is it possible that you're part Irish? Is it possible?
I don't know. Both my names are Irish. So Sean is Irish for John, and Watkins has an Irish origin, from what I understand. So, yeah, crazy.
Have you done your genealogy?
You know what? I have. I think I'm like 30 or 40% Nigerian.
My man, that's all of us,
So,
B.
yeah. So there's a few other stuff, a few other things sprinkled in there. But I did just research the name years ago and found out I was, part Irish.
Yeah, for me,
Or at least my name is.
yeah, at least your name is. For me, there was a lot of Nigerian, West African, obviously Caribbean, because that's most recent,
Right.
and then Norwegian.
So Norwegian, is that like Sweden?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
Swedish
yeah,
or-
all tall people. And
Yeah,
I've actually been there, and it turns out that they're all my people. Everyone's over 6'3". It's ridiculous. And it's beautiful over there. But let's get into the brass tacks of today, Sean. It's been a harrowing week for anybody that loves the red, white, and blue. This is a sports podcast, so we're going to try to keep it on that. Let's start with Minnesota. Minnesota flooded and inundated with ICE agents, which affected the Golden State Warriors versus Minnesota Timberwolves game. A little known fact, I don't know if everyone here follows me on social at Betamax84. I had been saying for a while that there's going to be no escape from what's happening with politics. A lot of people like to utilize sports as a getaway mechanism, which makes sense, and escapism. In times of political turmoil, however, sports doesn't act as that vehicle. It only acts as the last thing standing, which I think we're approaching. Sean, what did you think of what happened in Minnesota, and also Anthony Edwards and others wearing We Stand with Minnesota shirts and making some comments about what was going on there locally?
Yeah, the whole situation in Minnesota, it's tragic. I mean, the things that are happening there. But I think the NBA did the right thing. Timberwolves specifically did the right thing. They took a correct stand on that to cancel the game. It's just too much going on there. Too much unrest with everything that's going on with ICE agents and what they did to Renee Good. It's a sad state of affairs. And speaking to your point, you're absolutely right. Sports used to be a way to just get away and not forget about your troubles for 2.5, 3 hours. It's so many people watching and so many things happening outside in this country that you can't turn a blind eye to it, and they're bringing it right to the arena's doorstep, if you will. In a lot of places,
Quite literally.
So,
Yeah.
right.
And I wanted to really delve into this concept because I'm a person who also enjoys the escapism of sport. I don't think there's anybody like you and I when we're texting and voicemailing each other during a game when I'm losing my mind. And you're telling me, you know what, the Warriors are going to be fine. They're a third quarter team. I'm never watching this damn game. My buddy Kevin can say the same thing when I'm watching my Niners. That's a form of escapism. But when you see people's civil liberties being eradicated, it's difficult to focus on sport. Did you see Wemby's comments about what's going on in Minnesota?
Yeah, I did. He was horrified, to say the least, and I'm glad he spoke up, because he's not from this country, but he's in this country. So to see those things, him being from a different country, it's got to be horrifying. It's got to be scary for him. He just wants to play basketball. He's growing into the superstar that we're hoping he will
Yeah.
be. But now he's seeing these things, and he's like, man, what? He's got to be asking himself, what have I gotten myself into?
100%.
Because it's like,
100%.
yeah,
So
because it's super sad.
if we can go down this road here, the ability for Wemby to speak clearly on this subject and still hit the touch points without setting off a cancel him movement was fantastic. Okay.
Right.
And I also have a different viewpoint on this because, I love my history.
Sure.
People who don't know, or maybe a lot of people don't read, I don't know, but France was occupied by the Germans in World War II. Okay. Which means that his parents' parents, or probably his grandfather, would have passed on some of the knowledge of what that was like throughout his life. Right. So, like, Americans have never been occupied by another foreign nation. Okay. You can't even imagine what that might have been like. So for him to see what's happening, civil liberties are for everyone. And for him to speak
Sure.
out about the horrifications of that matter because from the outside looking in, it gives a different perspective because he's not American. If you could speak on that.
I would absolutely agree. I think it's amazing that he had the courage to do that, for one. Two, it gives you a perspective. It really lets the world know, or let the United States know that the world is watching. They see these things. If he can be affected by it, everyone can be. So I think, with that being said, I applaud his courageousness to speak up on that because you spoke to it. Cancel culture. People speaking on something, especially something as, dare I say, volatile as politics and the ramifications of politics. The things that happen because of certain laws or certain things put into place. You get it from all sides.
Yeah.
If you don't speak up enough, that you're going to get canceled. But if you speak up too much, you could get canceled as well. There's a fine line, and I think Wemby did a phenomenal job of, stepping up to the plate and saying, "Hey, this is horrifying. People's civil liberties are being taken away and stripped away. And where's the due process? Where's the civility?"
Yes.
And these are people. These are human beings. They're not herds of cattle. They're human beings, whether they're here legally or illegally, whatever the case may be. They still have to have their day in court. And you and I have talked about that. They got to have their day in court. It's got to be more civil. It can't just be, okay, I'm wrangling up cattle, and if they get out of hand, okay, we put them down. It can't be that. But that's exactly what's happening, and it's sad. I applaud Wemby for speaking up and towing that line because it's hard to take a stand on that. It's hard to say those things because you just never know how people are going to react and how they can maybe try to cancel you.
Sean, I mean, you're killing it because I don't even know if, and I know what you mean, I don't even know if we're talking about civil rights anymore. We're moving into human rights. Okay.
Right.
And
right.
human rights they're not attached to political party, right? Due process, the right to live, the right to free speech. These are inalienable rights, enshrined in the Constitution. So one thing I really wanted to touch on in this segment, you and I are very sports-oriented minds. Okay. Follow me on this thread. In sports, you have to change the game plan when something's not working. Okay.
Right.
So when Steve Kerr was in his first NBA Finals, I know you probably watched that Warrior special. He was like, "Yeah, I put a lineup in that I never used before because I had to do something different to beat LeBron James."
Right.
We have to understand that people who may have been against us recently, who now may see the light, whether you're MAGA or you're a pro-Trump supporter or whomever, if you're turning the corner and seeing that, okay, I may have made some mistakes, now is not the time for vitriol and going, "I told you, I've been telling you this, you're an idiot." Now's not the time for that because we're going to need
Right.
all of us together to fight for human rights. And I wanted to say that loud and clear that I have friends whose parents are, pro MAGA and other people who I never thought that would be full on Trump supporters. And I'm like, hey, that's your life. We've moved past that now. We're now in human rights territory. So it's really important to understand we need a whole game change plan. We need to open our arms to go, yo, you weren't with us now, but now you are because you see people getting murdered in the street. I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I couldn't agree more. I absolutely agree with that. I think it is becoming a human rights issue. And just like you said so eloquently, that when things aren't working, you have to change the game plan. And the Warriors absolutely did that to keep it sports related. They did that to deal with the Cavaliers and LeBron James. And so now America has to change the game plan. It can't be just, right versus left. Now it has to be human beings versus the machine, if you will.
I like that.
To state like a,
That gave me chills.
we've all watched Terminator, right?
Yeah.
Human beings, we gotta work against these machines. This machine being this administration, we all have to come together because human rights are being stripped away. People are being shot down, hunted down like cattle in the street.
Yeah.
They're just grabbing cattle and bringing them in, and those are not human rights. That's not right.
Yeah, and I want to
by
interject
any
here
means.
really quickly.
Sure.
I know that there's people who have different political opinions. I know that. I'm
Yeah.
not an idiot. People would,
Sure.
if anyone had an entailed long conversation with me, they may be surprised at some of my political thoughts, right? But my point still remains that the way that we got here is going to be very different from the way that we got out of it, that we're going to get out of it.
Right.
If there is a plan, if we're ever hoping to get out of it, pointing the finger and go, we told you about Project 2025. We told you that
Yeah.
he's a maniac. We told you this was the plan the whole time. That's irrelevant. When you're in a real game and it's the fourth quarter, and I've seen coaches throw out the playbook. It's like, yo, here's what we're going to do now. Well, I've never done that. Well, this is what we have to do if you want to win the game. And I think if we
Right.
take that sports aspect and viewpoint and go, yo, I don't care if you wore red hats for 6 years. If you feel like your gun rights are going to be taken away and you feel like there's no due process, then you need to stand with us and we need to do it together.
I absolutely agree. You're absolutely right. But that's the thing with this current administration. They've politicized this whole thing, and like I said, you could see human rights being stripped away. So I totally agree. It doesn't matter whether whether you were right or left or a MAGA or whatever it is. You see, it's really starting to affect, and that's the biggest thing. It's starting to affect people that they know,
Yes.
that they are considered close to, maybe not their immediate circle, but in that circle where, hey, 6 degrees of separation, I know that person. Oh my God, that's terrible.
That's a community.
So now yeah, exactly. So now there's a time where you can't just turn the blind eye and say, no, it's not happening to me. So it's not my problem. I feel bad for them. We can't do that anymore. So everybody has to start to stand up and realize that, this has to change, because if we don't do that, just as a community, as a human community, if you will, it will get worse before it gets better.
100% behind you on that. If there's anything we can learn from the athletes who have said something, because many athletes are shying away from the mic, of course, because no one wants to mess up their bag. I happen to be a long-term thinker, and I'm going, there's not going to be a bag. It's the way things are going. The bag's not going to be worth anything. What is the phrase? If you're in a desert and you're a millionaire, right? All you care about is water.
Right. Man, that's a great point.
It doesn't matter that you're a millionaire.
Right.
All that matters is the water, right? So I know
Mm-hmm.
not everybody's going to get out and march. Not everyone's going to get out and be aggressive. I'm saying that everyone can do something, whether you just speak up when you see something, say something, recording, whatever the case may be, because there's no one coming to save us. Democrats
Right.
are not coming. Listen, they're not coming to save you. Republicans are not coming to save you. The independent party's not coming to save you. The Green Party is not coming to save you, Sean.
The human race has to save the human race, if you will. So we have to save each other. We have to look out for each other. That's when it's, that's what it's all about, and we have to get back to that. It's saddening. Like I said, I'm very sad by it. Just the news cycle and everything that you see.
Oh, the news cycle's
And-
frenetic. Frenetic.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And then even to your point, like watching games is not as enjoyable because of what's going on outside. Before I could get pulling my hair out watching my Lakers and for 2.5, 3 hours, but
Give
now
up
it's
3
like,
jump shots.
I don't even really. Yeah, now I don't even want to. It's like, okay, I watched the first couple, and it's like, I don't really want to do. Let me see if I can watch something else to take my mind off of it. And that's a crazy thing for me to say
Yeah.
because I love sports, but it's just that's what it is. I mean, and you to your point, the there will be no bag because now if it's coming, it's starting to affect. Like say we had the Timberwolves game canceled, it's starting to affect. It's coming to the arena's front door or the entrances. So now if it does that, now fans are not. Now they don't want to go outside.
I'm going to
They don't
stop
want
you
to go
right there
outside. Now
because
they're
that's
not
a,
coming to the.
let me stop right. That's a
Yeah,
fantastic segue. You are so
yeah.
great at teeing up segues. So COVID, I believe, was the last time we had a major stoppage in pro sports when I think that made it very real for everyone how serious COVID was. For me, I recall it was a Utah Jazz game. They canceled the game. Rudy Gobert did some slick stuff on the mic and made himself look crazy. And they canceled,
Right.
part of the NBA season. NCAA, I believe they also canceled March Madness. That made it real for everyone. If this doesn't make it real for you, I don't know what will. We're looking at the Department of Homeland Security will be, quote unquote, possibly deploying ICE to Santa Clara for the Super Bowl, which means that that's pretty much going to be I don't want to say political, but a policed. It's going to be a policed event with some estimates saying over 800 to 1,000 ICE agents being at the Super Bowl. I don't
Right.
believe there's any terrorist threats regarding this Super Bowl. So that is a huge derivation from norm for what the Super Bowl is going to be going through. Sean, what did you think about seeing that news of this possibility?
It's absolutely absurd. Like I said, you brought up the point that it's supposed to, ICE is basically, border patrol, if you will. They're supposed to be, that type of deal. So why are they at a major sporting event like the Super Bowl? Doesn't make sense. So it speaks to my point again. This is not about giving due process. This is about herding cattle, in my opinion. And so, because that's what you're going to do. Okay, where's the most amount of cattle going to be? Next Sunday at the Super Bowl at 3 p.m.
But Sean,
Eastern,
before you hold on,
it's going to be a lot of people there.
before you finish that thought, one thing that occurred to me, respectfully, how many illegal immigrants have money for Super Bowl tickets?
And that's a great point. But who's working these events? Are they, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? You may have, now typically you could have illegals outside selling, memorabilia, things like that. That happens all the time. Every big sporting
sure.
event that happens, even if they're not that big, they're selling, trying to make a buck, the American dream. I get it. So, but for me, it's like that's not where ICE needs to be. I mean, if you're really trying to control immigration and you're going to be around the borders, you're not going to be at a place like Santa Clara, California. And so I saw a report where Governor Newsom and the police that are going to be out there to kind of watching and patrolling and be there at the Super Bowl, they're going to work in conjunction with them, but they're going to make sure that nothing crazy goes on, which I applaud Newsom for saying that and wanting to step in.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. I think it's needed. I think you need to establish. I think even the mayor of Santa Clara is saying, okay, yeah, we're not going to allow any foolishness, and I think that needs to happen. So kudos to them, big applause for them to do that, to stand up to that, because we don't want any craziness. Because here, to your point again, it's going to take away from the pageantry that is the Super
Of the
Bowl.
game.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
the pageantry. That we want to see. The fireworks, and we want to see the big energy for this big game, the culmination of two
Yeah.
teams winning and making it to this far with a chance to become champions. We want to see that. We want to see the halftime show with Bad Bunny with no hiccups.
Doesn't this
So
doesn't this
and these
doesn't this overshadow the Patriots versus the Seahawks? Patriots haven't been to the Super
Seahawks.
Bowl since Tom Brady left, right? The Seahawks haven't been there since Marshawn Lynch left. Like we should be talking more about how amazing this game should be. We really shouldn't be focusing on the immigration status of the guy selling popcorn at the popcorn maker.
Yeah, I keep bringing it back to your point that's what's happening, and that's where we got to really pay attention to it. It's a shame that we're not talking more about this game. The last time these two were in the Super Bowl, I saw that game. Marshawn Lynch was running all
Oh
over
my
him,
God.
and they get to the 1 yard
I'll
line,
never
and they
forget it.
decide to throw it. And why not hand the ball back off to him? I mean, that's another another story. But Russell Wilson throws a pick right on the 1 yard line, and the Patriots win the game.
Crazy.
It's got to be the luckiest Super Bowl that Tom Brady's ever won.
Ever.
And you know what I mean? So we should be talking about that and how good the Seahawks have
Their
been,
defense
John
incredible.
Marion. The defense is incredible. Sam Darnold, who the story of him, how he's gone to different teams, and he was considered a bust
Yeah.
early on in his
Yeah.
career. And then you go to the other side, Drake May. This guy, just started
Young
there.
phenom.
He's trying to fill the boots, the shoes of
The
the
galoshes.
the greatest New England Patriot ever, Tom Brady. Some consider the GOAT, and he's gotten them to a Super Bowl, and here we go. And so we should really be talking about that, but it's sad that it's going to be overshadowed by, okay, is ICE going to be there? What are they going to do? And like I said, back to your point, that's why you're so brilliant when you come up with these topics. You're so brilliant in saying, it's not going to be long. It's already rearing its ugly
Yeah.
head to where we're not going to be able to use this as an outlet, as a chance to get away for 2.5, 3 hours and really enjoy sport. It's happening already.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, Sean.
you're right.
This is something that I had been weighing back and forth like a pendulum tick. Should I say something? Should I not? Because this is, as we stated earlier, this is far more than political. We're not talking about voting red or blue. We're talking about human rights and how that affects someone every day. People who play in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, football, they live here in this country. Whether you're from here or not, you live here. It's only a matter of time before it affects you, or it affects in a game, or it affects an event. So here we are. It's going to affect the Super Bowl, which is going to transition to our last topic. If we're talking about being in the shadow of the Super Bowl, Sean, the World Cup is right around the corner.
Right.
The World Cup, for those who don't watch any soccer, and I don't except for the World Cup, when everybody gets together and there's only one who's going to win, I'll watch anything. I'll watch curling during the Olympics because I'm like, yo, this is it. Like everybody's trying to get it from one, you know what I mean? I just like that competitive nature.
Right.
There's people from all over the world slated to come here. And you're going to tell me that Immigration and Border Control is going to be asking people from other countries for their papers? Some countries are on the no-fly list. Some countries have been tariffed to death. What are we thinking when everyone knows the World Cup is a major money-making event just financially? It injects billions into a local economy. What do you think about that,
Right.
Mr. Watkins?
I think this is why this game is so important, and it's so important that ICE doesn't overshadow this Super Bowl game, because I think this is like a precursor to what could happen. Now, if ICE comes, if they're at the game and they're around or whatever, and there's no big commotion and they're just there and they're just around, and we're able to focus on this game and there's no hiccups, then okay. Then I think we're fine, and then maybe we can move forward and move to the World Cup, which is, hey, it's exponentially bigger than the Super Bowl, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But the World Cup is exponentially bigger. But if we could do this, like I said, if we could just lay back, let this game be what it is, what we all known and love, I think it bodes well for the World Cup. Now, like I said, if something happens and then there's a big commotion and it distracts from the game, I think that's really going to be a deciding factor for a lot of these countries in the World Cup to go, you know what? I don't need this aggravation. They did a Super Bowl, which is going to have which people who are legally there, and there's harassment. So what's going to happen to me and my compadres from my country that we're coming over just to compete for this World Cup? What's going to happen to us? So then you scare people off. Now you're losing money for these particular economies that are participating in that. So I think this is a big, big weekend coming up for what you're speaking of.
Yeah, if we're talking about most likely outcomes, in anything you talk about least likely, middle road and most likely, I think it's most likely that there's going to be something that happens at the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's going to be on field, but In Santa Clara, you bring in that many agents. It is California, high Hispanic
Hmm.
community. I don't think anywhere ICE has been, they've been received with open arms. I think
Yeah.
something's going to happen. I think we're not even at the tipping point for where everyone needs to get involved and realize how important freedom is and watering the tree of liberty.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we're going to see more events like Minnesota than less. I don't think there's less of that
Right.
on the docket. I think there's going to be more of that. Your thoughts on that, sir?
I take the other approach. I'm a realist like you
Mm.
are. Part of me is more optimistic that something will
I
happen.
love it. I love it.
That will, I'm an optimist. I believe in the good. I believe it's going to go off without a hitch.
Hmm.
And I think it really needs to, just so the World Cup can, more people, more of the countries can feel comfortable coming here. Okay, that didn't go off with that. We didn't have any issues. It went off without a hitch. Oh, now we can go. I think it really needs to be great, and so I'm optimistic that it will. But there's this little tiny bit inside of me that goes, the little pessimist side that goes, don't be blind, Sean.
Yeah.
It could happen. It's happening. It's happening all over the country, Minnesota specifically. But it's just things are happening. And here's the biggest sporting event in the United States, and California, like you said, a high Hispanic population. I'm a forever optimist, so I'm thinking it's going to go off without a hitch, and I pray that I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah. In summation, just looking at everything, I don't think there's going to be any escape from this type of behavior and how it affects sport. I suggest everyone read the Constitution. I'm not the guy who sits
Mm,
on a high horse. Read your Constitution, read your rights, know your rights, know what your rights are, know your First Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, know the right to due process, read the Bill of Rights outside of the Constitution. It shouldn't take long. Heck, type it into ChatGPT and ask it to give you the bullet points. Just
nice.
understand that there's things out there that you are as an American and as a human being, you have the right to, so that no one can take it away from you. This might be our time to actually take the mantle from those before us and pay it forward to those that come after.
I can't agree more, man. I think with everything that's going on, I think we need to operate out of a mindset of not anger. I know everybody's
It's
angry,
easy to be angry.
with things that are going on. It's easy to be angry, but we have to, like you said, know your rights and speak intelligently about them. Try to be as calm as you can, because especially the people that we're dealing with, ICE agents, other people that are just against this, when you tend to raise your voice and speak in an angry tone, they tend to shut down and not listen, and then it becomes more volatile than it needs to be.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everyone to just try to, just try to speak, and it's difficult. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult, but if anything, any type of confrontation comes about, speak intelligently, know your rights, understand your rights, and convey them with clear and concise precision.
Hmm.
I think that's the message we have to do, and if we can move forward like that, I think things will be a lot better.
Brilliantly said. And lastly, it just came to me as well. You and I are both proponents of due process. It's important to understand that due process is for everyone. It's for everyone. If you wear a red hat and I
Yes.
don't agree with you, if you wear a blue hat and I agree with you, if you bombed a building and 100 people died, you still have the right to due process. No one should
Hmm.
be
Right.
losing their life in the street without seeing a judge and being judged by a jury of their peers. This is part of the American system. Now, if you got railroaded during that, that's a whole nother issue. It's a whole nother issue.
Right.
But at the end of the day, due process is for everyone. Guys, I know this was not the most exciting podcast. It might be our lowest viewed one for all I know. But I think it's really important to say these things because our thoughts are with looking forward for a better America. Sean, last words before we get out of here.
I mean, it may not be the most viewed, but I think it's probably the most important podcast we've had, because we need to, at the end of the day, we all need to move in love, and move towards a better America, a better world in general. Because it's just like I said, this all this anger and this hate, it's not good. And my biggest thing is, I'm worried about the children
Mm,
that are coming behind us.
yeah,
I'm not worried about myself. We're older, we understand, we know how to maneuver,
yeah.
but now. our kids and the younger generation, they have to maneuver in this, and we've got to teach them. So my last words is just let's try to move in love. Let's all teach each other and grow together and get past this.
Guys, for Sean Watkins, this is Betamax84 with the Beat the Best podcast. Remember to share this with your friends. Share this with your Red Hat parents. Share this with your enemies. Guys, I appreciate you listening, and we will catch you on the flip side.
All right. Peace.